Your first declaration was useful. By the 5th or 6th time it gets monotonous. Another rumble.
Quake, said Charon. That's number 7. Anyway, you're not a tectonicist. This is outside your many fields of expertise.
Despite Charon's typical deadpan delivery, the sarcasm was hard to miss. If Kynan hadn't been sleeping with his assistant, he might have been irritated. As it was, he allowed himself to be tolerantly amused. "I don't recall you being a master tectonicist," he said.
"It's a hobby," said Charon.
Kynan opened his mouth to respond, and then the ground suddenly and violently launched itself up to meet him. It took a moment for Kynan to realize it wasn't the floor that jerked up to meet him. He had been suddenly driven to the floor. He was now haphazardly sprawled on the tiles, along with about half the objects formerly positioned on his workstation. Kynan's workstool lay capsized a body length to the right, still teetering from the upheaval. He looked over to Charon, who was no longer looking at her monitor, in part because it lay shattered on the ground, near where Charon herself was toppled. "What was that?" Kynan asked.
"Quake?"
Charon suggested, somewhat hopefully, and then screamed as the lab bounced energetically around them again. Lighting and acoustic panels fell from the ceiling. Both Kynan and Charon struggled to crawl under workbenches. The world imploded around them for a while as they cowered under their tables. Presently the shaking stopped. Kynan looked around in what flickering light still remained and saw the majority of his lab on the floor, including much of the ceiling and part of the walls. Usually the lab was filled with workers and Kynan's other assistants, but he and Charon had come in late to finish up some sequencing. Most of his staff had been in the base barracks, probably asleep. Well, they were awake now. A high, keening noise echoed down the hall leading to the lab.
"Do you hear that?"
Charon asked. Kynan gave an affirmative head dip. "It's the siren for battle stations."
"We're under attack,"
Charon asked.
"I thought this base was shielded."
"It is," Kynan said. "Or was. Supposed to be anyway."
"Well, a fine job, I must say," Charon said.
Now Kynan was irritated. "Nothing is perfect, Charon," he said.
"Sorry,"
Charon said, keying in on her boss's sudden irritation. Kynan grunted and then slid out from underneath his workbench and picked his way to a toppled-over storage locker. "Come help me with this," he said to Charon. Between them they maneuvered the locker to where Kynan could shove open the locker door. Inside was a small projectile gun and a cartridge of projectiles.
"Where did you get this?"
Charon asked. "This is a military base, Charon," Kynan said. "They have weapons. I have 2 of these. One is here and one is back in the barracks. I thought they might be useful if something like this happened."
"We're not military,"
Charon said. "And I'm sure that will make a huge difference to whoever is attacking the base," Kynan said, and offered the gun to Charon. "Take this."
"Don't give that to me," Charon said. "I've never used one. You take it."
"Are you sure?" Kynan said.
"I'm sure," Charon said. "I'd just end up shooting myself in the leg."
"All right," Kynan said.
He mounted the ammunition cartridge into the gun and slipped the gun into a coat pocket.
"We should head to our barracks. Our people are there. If anything happens, we should be with them." Charon mutely gave her assent. Her usual sarcastic persona was now entirely stripped away. She looked drained and frightened. Kynan gave her a quick squeeze. "Come on, Charon," he said. "We'll be all right. Let's just try to get to the barracks." The 2 had begun to weave through the rubble in the hall when they heard the sub-level stairwell doors slide open. Kynan peered through the dust and low light to make out 2 large forms coming through the door. Kynan began to backtrack toward the lab. Charon, who had the same thought rather faster than her boss, had already made it to the lab doorway. The only other way off the floor was the elevator, which lay past the stairwell. They were trapped. Kynan patted